Calls it a strike to count on Taylor. Reyes fires. Swinging a drive. Deep left field. This is way back. Walk the ball. Let's Taylor.
What's going on, everyone? My name is Scott Geirman. Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com, senior staff writer. I'm here with the executive editor, Matt Moreno, following a big win. How we doing, buddy?
I'm good. I'm happy to do this with you. I know Daniel and I had a great live show before the game started. Told everybody we wouldn't be doing a post-game show unless maybe there was a complete game or a shutout. But you know what? Teoscar Hernandez putting the team on his back, I think it warrants us getting on here and talking a little bit and celebrating with everybody. I see the chat's excited and there's some good stuff to talk.
Absolutely. So this is my fault in a good way. I texted Matt after. I was like, this is, I just got off work, I was keeping tabs on the game, making sure everything was going well. Teoscar had a big night. Everybody chatting, everybody tuning in. Fans be going crazy. I know we're all excited. Dodgers remain unbeaten after in the second half so far, following a big sweep of the Red Sox coming in tonight. River Ryan, we're to get into everything. We're going to try to keep it high and tight on this one, but it all depends. We'll see how it is. We'll see how long we can keep Matt on here. Dodgers win 3-2. We all saw the Teoscar show. River Ryan makes the debut. What's your biggest takeaway from tonight?
He impressed me with how composed he was throughout the start. We heard a lot about the stuff that he has, the velocity, some of his secondary pitches and things like that. And that's one thing Daniel and I mentioned before the game was, look, like it's always exciting to see, prospects, especially somebody as heralded as River Ryan, get their opportunity at the big league level. But it's also important to remember that it is just their first time. It is their debut. And unfortunately, those games don't always go the way you sort of hope. And I think for River Ryan to be as efficient as he was, Dave Roberts said going into it, he thought maybe 90 pitches or so, gets into the sixth inning. I think it says a lot about who, his makeup, I think, is what I was impressed with tonight. Yeah,
absolutely. He showcased big time arm. Everybody, if you don't know about River Ryan, Charlotte, North Carolina born, he's, this is a kid that the Dodgers acquired from the Padres for none other than Mini Barry Bonds, Matt Beatty, someone that was a two-way player years ago. Dodgers saw a ton of value in him as a pitcher. And you got to see a big arsenal tonight. You got to see a guy with a upper 90s fastball, slider, changeup, curveball. First strikeout came against Tyler Fitzgerald in the third inning on a 97 mile an hour fastball away.
Frozen.
Very tight delivery. He looks the part. He you could definitely tell there's just those first outing jitters. But he definitely has the stuff to be competitive, just like you said. I think everybody likes the makeup. It was good that the game never got away from him. He worked around those 3 walks there. Alex Vesia helps him out a ton, getting out of that jam. Comes away scoreless. I think for me, of looking at what the Dodgers, who the Dodgers have behind him in the minor leagues, this feels like, I wouldn't say the last arm, but the arm that was among the last that have the possibility of coming up. And it's terrific to see it. A kid like this, 25-year-old, come up, have a terrific debut.
Yeah. Definitely. And I mean, it's what's going to be interesting is what is next for him. Obviously, Glasnow's returning on Wednesday. Kershaw's back on Thursday. Paxton was DFA'd, so at least some of the depth, some of the log jam, if you will, ahead of River Ryan is gone in some sense, even with Glasnow and Kershaw coming back. So it's just interesting to see, what sort of happens. It wouldn't shock me if maybe the Dodgers find a way to sort of stagger him or sort of rotate River Ryan with Robleski in the rotation. I'm frankly surprised that Robleski has made as many starts as he has for the team. I thought it was going to be kind of just the one and done. And then I thought when Glasnow had his back injury, I thought, okay, he'll make another one and then that'll be it. But he stuck around, credit to him. So it'll be interesting to see how the Dodgers sort of handle everything. Because then also, further down the line, Bobby Miller, Walker Buehler will be coming back at some point too. But at least for the time being, it seems like River Ryan is certainly capable of, sort of holding his own if he needs to make another start or two.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with everything you said. And I didn't have a chance to chat with you guys or tune into the pregame show, which is something that I know was terrific. The Dodgers letting go of James Paxton, or, for right now, by all accounts, unless they trade him, he accepts the option down. Nobody claims him. I just want to get your answer here. And just in case people tuning in didn't get that, again, shout out to the 400 in here. Make sure you hit the like button. We appreciate you all tuning in. Big time win. A lot of vibes, good vibes right now. This is the second half Dodgers. We'll see. Keep it rolling. I just want to ask you, how surprising was that? Or do you feel like he did his job enough that the Dodgers are in a point where they have enough coming back when they believe it was an okay move to make? Did it alarm you at all? Or do you feel comfortable with where they're at?
It didn't. I'm not overly concerned, but I am surprised. And a lot of that is, look, I get that if you, on paper, the Dodgers have a plethora of starting pitchers, right? They went into this season planning on having an excess number of pitchers, and that was before a lot of the injuries, before Bobby Miller struggled. So, like, on that sense, like, I can understand why they made the decision that they did, and there's an opportunity now to trade Paxton before the deadline, obviously, assuming my guess is he's going to get claimed off of waivers just because the salary owed to him for the rest of the year is minimal, and I think he's pitched well enough that, and there are enough teams that need starters that he's going to get claimed, and the Dodgers will then work out a trade. So fine, like, try to get something for him, I guess. But to me, this now puts a lot of pressure on Clayton Kershaw to come back and pitch well, on Bobby Miller to get back up and pitch well, on Tyler Glasnow to stay healthy, which fine. It seemed like his back issue was more a matter of convenience than significant injury.
Yes.
Yoshinobu Yamamoto, like, as much as he's saying the reports on him and he's saying he's pain free, like, it still is a rotator cuff injury, and so now you need him back. Gavin Stone suddenly, depending on what happens at the trade deadline, Gavin Stone, I said before in our show earlier tonight, he's potentially now starting a game 2 or a game 3, sort of no questions asked for you. And that's as well as he's fared so far this season, he still is, inexperienced in the playoffs. And so that to me is where the surprise is now, like, the Dodgers have taken one step towards putting themselves up against the wall with needing these guys to not only come back, to not only stay healthy, but then to pitch well. And we've seen it the last few years that when you start planning that way, things go awry one way or another.
Yeah, a lot there. And from however they want to navigate this, Walker Buehler's, he's not back with the team, but he's at the stadium. He was out there working with Rick Honeycutt. So I don't know how much they expect to get from Walker Buehler. Clayton Kershaw's coming back. Glasnow's coming back. River Ryan, however much he's going to be here. It's just, I like the fact that they're giving these young guys a chance. Robleski is someone who right away looked like he's, pounding the zone. That's stuff you want to see from your young starters. If you're dancing around the zone, that, it's a recipe for disaster. You get yourself into a point where you can't let your best stuff play. So for Robleski, I'm with you. I liked what he saw right away, what he was giving us. And the fact that he's sticking around, who knows? It's just, the Dodgers are in a spot where you have multiple arms. Bobby Miller had a AAA for whatever what it is. You can't bank so much on the results there. He's still walking guys. And until that stuff stops, it's still a TBD. You don't know what you're getting from Kershaw. And I think that it's good for the Dodgers. And I think a lot of the chat will agree. What's up, everybody? Shout out to the 500 in. That they're allowing them to go through this, spurt where they're letting them go out here and getting multiple turns. So they know for a little bit, just a little bit, you're going to be with the big club. You're going to get multiple turns through the rotation, kind of see it. You can, tinker with some things and find out what works, what doesn't, go back to AAA if they do, and then go from there. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it. And it's just terrific that for me, this year feels like one of the best in recent years that they've had just young arms come up and all kind of seem like they have their feet on the ground, right?
Yeah, it's definitely been impressive, and I think the Dodgers player development staff, the pitching coaches throughout, AAA, AA, all that, the entire organization deserve a lot of credit. And that's one thing that Dave Roberts is sure to note when these players do, whether it's a starter or relief pitcher, when they do come up and make their debuts, he gives credit to the organization's coaches for helping it. He calls it a collective effort. And so, yeah, like you make it, that's Absolutely. A great point that you bring up. Real quick, also, you did mention Bobby Miller and his walks. His AAA start over the weekend was kind of a mixed bag, I think would be the best way to describe it. Mm-hmm. What I found interesting is Dave Roberts today in his pregame press conference, if you will, said that as he dug into Bobby's start with some of the pitching coaches, that it was better. I forgot his exact quote, but basically that they found a lot of good with it, as I'm assuming looked at some of the, and I like to poke fun, as I'll just say, the nerd stats.
Yes.
And so I thought that was a little interesting. And on one hand, I guess maybe, a little encouraging, because like I said, I do have some concern with what DFAing James Paxton and now, a likely trade of him means for the rest of the rotation. And look, a lot of that could be mitigated if they go and make a trade for a starter, which I know we're all assuming they're certainly going to get one. I do need to fill you in. Daniel is on the Jack Flaherty train with you. I told him that you've been writing that. And so, my guess is they get a starter, and I think that will help ease my worries with Paxton no longer being in the fold.
Yeah. And, I put it out on Twitter. James Paxton came in, and the expectations for him weren't to be a front end guy. It was to be someone for the Dodgers. And I remember saying this on opening day, domestic opening day on Dodgers territory, that James Paxton was going to be an arm that was going to be an anchor. And he did exactly what he needed to do. At age 35, he came in, started 18 games, and I don't think he missed one. He took the ball every single turn through the rotation. And that's something that the Dodgers, I don't believe they had anyone last season. And just to have, he had a 4.43 ERA, whip almost 1.5, but the Dodgers won games that he started. And that just says something. It might, luck, a lot of comes from just, Tyler Glasnow probably wishes he had a lot of the run support that James Paxton had, because I think Paxton ended with like 6+ runs of support every time. But I don't care. It's the fact that he gave them length. He gave them enough. It's just someone taking the turn every single time. I'm just going to give a little clap to James Paxton for whatever he gave the organization. He gave them a consistent starter for 18 games of the regular season, all the way to the deadline, something that they did not have last year. So I appreciate him a ton. But I agree that it says, like, the Dodgers don't make these moves just to do it. I think they have a calculated approach with how they're looking at it. The projections show, and a lot, that says that they're going to have enough. And they feel strongly in their young guys that, hey, maybe they see exactly what we see, that there's enough there, that this is their youth movement. This is their youth movement, maybe a little bit early, but I think that it's working out so far, and because for a rotation that's been completely decimated.
Yeah, and we didn't even mention Landon Knack, who starts tomorrow.
Yes,
so that's another rookie who, he's risen to the occasion. He's been called upon multiple times, and so. Yeah, I mean, look, I do think that whether Paxton was around or not, the Dodgers certainly have enough talent and depth to get through the regular season. So if you look at it from that standpoint, great. And in a perfect world, Paxton is not starting a playoff game for you anyway. So in that sense, get something for him now.
Yes.
So fine. But I still, just in the back of my mind, I'm a little, because now, again, you need players, you need your other pitchers to not only get back healthy, to stay healthy, and to perform well. And so that's just, that'll be what I sort of watch and am concerned about until we get to October here in a handful of months.
Sure. And I think it's something to say, James Paxton's stuff ticked up a bit last night. He was touching 96 on the gun. So I would say another team will pick that up. There will be a team around Major League Baseball for how pitching is right now. Someone will get it. And I hope wherever he goes, unless he's playing against the Dodgers, I wish him the best because he, it says something for, a veteran 35-year-old to come in and be consistent, make every start through the rotation, don't cause a fuss, and do exactly what you need to do. I think we could touch on a little bit of tonight's game. Matt, you think? Just a little bit. I'll do my best on it. Dodgers had 6 hits. It's a tough go against Blake Snell. Blake Snell's kind of been on a little bit. His last outing was solid. He looked good. He looks like, a lot of what Blake Snell has been for the last 2 years. But we can just dive right into the MVP from tonight. Teoscar Hernandez, big 3-7, Mr. Bright Lights.
Mr. Seeds, I saw people calling him
Mr. Seeds. Do we like that, guys? Do we like Mr. Seeds? They've got to extend him. I'm going to keep spamming it until they do it. I don't know. Guys, have you seen a player like this that just wants to, it feels like he's been with the team for years. I said it to Blake last night. It feels like Teoscar Hernandez has been with the team for several seasons. The way that fans have gravitated towards him. He's gravitated to the fans, the team, the energy, the culture, and he's been vocal about wanting to be a Dodger. I don't know how, I hope they're working with it for like a deal towards keeping him around, but it's just something that it feels like they've got to get done.
I agree. And I think, you and we've discussed this a couple times, and if I know we both have brought up, if you look at the outfield picture moving forward, not a lot there,
Yes.
especially with, if Miguel Vargas can not only just hit, but like he needs to improve defensively to become a regular left fielder. Like he's
Yeah.
not like, unless he's going to be hitting at basically a superstar level, he's not good enough defensively to look past some of the stuff that we've seen.
And also, unless the 80 grade arm spouts out of nowhere. I know he's had some outfield assists, I think the last 2 games, like a lot over, like tonight
Yeah.
and you were recently, but I'm with you. Something's got, if it's not there, then where is it?
So, that makes locking him up, Teoscar now, I'm speaking about, all the more
Mhm.
imperative. And I'm inclined to believe that something probably will get done. The Muncy contract extension, I think, came in August or maybe even early September. And so my guess is the front office probably wants to get through this trade deadline, see who maybe they acquire. If they are looking for an outfielder, Luis Roberts' name has been out there, Tommy
Mhm.
Pham a little bit.
Rosarena.
Rosarena, see if something develops on that front, and then sort of look at what your outfield picture might be moving forward. But yeah, I mean, I don't. Teoscar Hernandez also came out and said, "I don't want to reach free agency. I want to be
Yeah.
here." So I think when you have something like that, you have a front office that I'm inclined to believe is able to recognize talent and players wanting to stick around, that it makes sense to get something done. So my belief is that it's just sort of a matter of time right now, and it's not going to necessarily happen before the trade deadline.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's going to be just when it clicks, when that time comes up, it's going to come out of nowhere. And that's going to be something that they've been working on. I hope. And Teoscar is, I believe, 31, 31. Yes, 31. And as of now, I know I quick pulled it. I know they said it on the broadcast. Teoscar has 18 RBIs in the 8th inning on. That's through, 8th, 9th through extras. And his energy following that go-ahead knock is something that all fans, like we talked about it. I forgot which show that I think we were talking about the superstars and the pulse, that it was Ohtani that they were going to have to pull from. And hopefully it's somebody else. We won't see it until, I thought, with Ohtani through the playoffs, big spots there and how he performed. And we've seen him do it already. And it's Teoscar as well. Goes out, wins a home run derby, first Dodger in team history. And he's just continued to do it. The lights aren't too bright. The big moment is his, and he's done it. A Yankee Stadium and a big night like tonight as well. It's hard. We can gush over it as much as we can. We could do the whole show about Teoscar Hernandez, but it's a 1-year contract that absolutely worked out, worth every penny of deferred money. And it's someone that, looking forward, I feel confident in, that if the Dodgers are big on fan favorites, they want to keep guys around. And I think, just to what you said, I think it's something that will get done, and fans will be ecstatic over it. Man, just a matter of how much they're going to go for,
Yeah, and I will say, the energy that he does bring and display, certainly when they're playing at home, gets the fans going. But I was a little worried that he was overly excited at first base, and I was like, man, you're gonna like hurt your oblique doing
Oh,
that
man.
celebration. Like, please be a little careful there. But yeah, I mean, I think it's been fun to see. I think what's always fun, I think what I always enjoy is seeing like players who like playing for the Dodgers.
Yes.
That's fun. And when you see that come across, I think the fans are quick to embrace those guys. And that's what I think has happened in this situation.
Yeah, when speaking to him at the Blue Diamond Gala, that was, one-on-one. David Vassay was really funny. I told him that I was a big Teoscar guy, and he calls him over and yells, Teoscar, I've got your biggest fan right here. And I'm sitting there like, oh man, Dave. But Teoscar is as fun-loving as you could think, guys. Chad, like, Teoscar is one of one in personality. He is gracious with his time. He is the best. Like, he's someone that you buy his jersey knowing that he is a good representation of a Los Angeles Dodger. Just awesome stuff. But we don't really have a script tonight. We're just going to dive straight into that, gush over Teoscar. But I think, I see people talking about what's looking ahead towards the deadline and stuff like that, and locking up Teoscar. And back to your point about the Dodgers not having so many options going forward, and what do they do with the rest of their outfield mix? And kind of, Kiké having this, are we okay to say resurgence? Are we okay to say that yet?
Not yet. I believe that Kiké is just clutch. I don't think he's not back yet. But maybe he's getting there. I mean, I asked Daniel the same thing about Kevin Lux after winning. I called it. I mean, it's called Player of the Week. Daniel said it's basically Player of the Weekend because it was only
Yes.
3 teams. But yeah, I mean, I don't know if Kiké is. I don't know if he's having a resurgence just yet.
Yeah, and this brings us straight into our super chat. Now we appreciate you, 300. Thanks for being here. Thanks for the 760 in here. Thanks everybody. Big win. I really feel that Miguel Vargas is dealt at the deadline, says 300. Where are your thoughts on that? Because brings me to my thing. That's why I say it with Kiké in that right-handed bat off the bench. In the platoon that I think that Andy Pages and Jason Hayward would be best suited in being either. I think it ultimately comes down to, time split between Miguel Vargas and Andy Pages. Do they both play at the same time? Are they okay with the defense? Where are you at with Miguel Vargas and heading towards the trade deadline?
I'm not necessarily expecting him to be traded. I think the only way he sort of goes in a deal is if they're then getting an outfielder in return. Like I don't think they have enough depth or production, frankly. And I know Vargas went into his own skid at the plate, but he still has the hit tool that carried him through the minor league system and into making his debut, and why the Dodgers last year, were looking for a way to get him on the field and converted him to second base. So I can't necessarily see them trading him at this deadline. It's not only like, do you need production now, but like we just discussed, the outfield picture moving forward is not settled at all.
Yeah, and 300 thanks for the super chat, and I see a lot of people having different takes in there in his defense, and I think it's different because he does still have the team control. He did have that little burst right when he got called back up there. Might have been some motivation, might have been perfect matchups. However, but he is 1 for his last 14, 6 for his last 35. After that initial run, it's just been a downward trend and some poor defense aside from those outfield assists. Heck of an arm, but like, it's just how much stock do you put into that aside from, how does he project long term? And I know Blake made the guess, or that Miguel Vargas would be the left fielder going forward, after next year or during next year. It's difficult for me to see that unless he greatly improves there, because that bat right now, it's still a work in progress. So I just want to know your thoughts on projecting him long term as an outfielder, or do they just maybe try to the infield one more time?
Yeah, I mean, I was a little
Difficult, right?
surprised. I was a little surprised they went away from him at second base. I mean, I guess they obviously wanted to. Well, I guess I need to backtrack. The original plan was for Mookie to play second base, which fine, that makes it. Like if Mookie Betts is playing second base, it probably doesn't matter how good Miguel Vargas is hitting, because I don't think he's going to be producing as well as Mookie does. And that's not a slight on him. It's just you're comparing him to a dynamic all-star. But yeah, I mean, I'm a little surprised they haven't tried him at third base, given how long Muncy has been out, given Kevin Biggio's not giving them anything. Chris Taylor and Kiké have been up and down. And that's, Aaron Vaughn's asking about third. My guess is that they just don't trust his glove there at all, which is a little concerned. Like, how bad would it be? Because we've seen, like you said, he's had some adventures in the outfield, and sure, there have been some times where he's come up with some big assists and impressive throws, but he's also, almost colliding with Andy Pages in the gap like every other night, it seems like, and you can't have that.
I'm still in the camp that they need to find some define. We talk, myself and chat, we had some continuity about this, and people agreeing and have some similar takes, that I think it's getting to the point where they haven't really separated themselves, the Dodgers, with their platoon guys and who's having which role. Gavin Lux, he's had a weekend, so we'll see. Like, I still believe no matter what happens, he's gonna have trouble against lefties, and that's fine. Blake Snell's a tough lefty to go against. That's just how it is. You get some sword swings in there, and it's just a difficult task. So I'm not going to hold today against him. It's just coming down to who's their guy versus lefties, who's going to be guys versus righties, and roll it that way. Because if Kiké, again, is going to keep doing what he's doing and finding some slug, I think that's just a plus. Chris Taylor's done his best offensive work, I believe, when he's playing third base. However that comes, like it does, like there's something to it. Players feel differently when they're at different positions. Comfortability factors, stuff bleeds over. Mookie's had multiple conversations and takes about that himself. Like having second base, he had some of his best production while he was playing second, short, and then stuff started to regress. But Chris Taylor this year, when he's been on that uptick, I believe his best work has been when he's playing third base. He's been more of a league average hitter. So depends, like how do those platoons shake out? That's something that everybody should keep an eye on going forward into the deadline. With Miguel Vargas, is he in their long-term plans? Is he a guy this year they want versus left-handed pitching? If not, then we might see some action there. So appreciate the super chat. It's definitely something to look after. We've got one more here. Cordenaz, thank you so much for the $5 super chat. Thank you for tuning in. I'm happy to see all these rookie pitchers come up, but I also think the Dodgers are bringing these guys to raise their trade value for the deadline. Some yes, some no. It just all depends. This year, I don't think the Dodgers are really in a luxury spot to audition multiple arms at the big league level. Like if someone feels incredibly strongly about, we had a conversation last night about Gavin Stone or Bobby Miller, long-term projections there. Like if a team wants to overpay or, take Gavin Stone in a trade back and they highly value him, I don't think it's something the Dodgers would hate just because Gavin Stone's not a big K per 9 guy. You kind of agree on some of the stuff. Like where do you stand on this question right here?
Yeah, I don't necessarily see it. We did have we had a couple people on our pregame show tonight saying River Ryan's start was basically a way for the Dodgers to audition him. And, one person said for the Tigers specifically because of the school ball stuff. And that wasn't something that had necessarily crossed my mind. Like, I don't want to call River Ryan like untouchable, but I don't think the Dodgers are inclined to trade him at all. Maybe some of the other guys, I do think, like you said, if one team says, hey, Gavin Stone needs to be in this deal, depending on who it's for, I don't think the Dodgers back away. And that's not necessarily a slight to Gavin Stone. I just think he's certainly outperforming a lot of projections and estimate. Like he was never a huge prospect guy anyway to begin with. Like there were other pitchers that were ahead of him.
Mm-hmm. Just a fast riser.
Stone last year was considered, he got to be the most polished out of that group, and that's why we saw him up first. But in terms of potential and upside and all that stuff, he's not the Bobby Miller, right? He's not some of these other guys that the Dodgers have. And so could I see him getting traded? Sure. But, and maybe Landon Knack, like similar kind of deal where he's more of, a good major league pitcher who can help round out your rotation, not necessarily lead a rotation. But by that same token, like how much are they necessarily, like, I don't think Knack has significantly raised his trade value by any means. I think Stone maybe has a little bit. Bobby Miller hasn't. And then Robleski and River Ryan, again, like I don't want to say they're untouchable, but I don't think the Dodgers are looking to trade either one of them.
Yeah, it's something to keep an eye on. Cordenaz, thanks for the question. Appreciate it a ton. Thanks for the super chat. We'd have to keep an eye on it because a couple years ago, like when the All-Star game was in LA, that was Tony Gonsolin's year. And that was a season that there were a lot of questions that is his peak? Is this someone that the Dodgers are going to, hang their hat on long-term? Can they get some trade value? But it would be a bad look from a PR standpoint to have an all-star and immediately turn around and trade him. Unless there's big time value there. But with these guys, that's a different thing because Gonsolin's been with the team through the World Series run. So it's a different circumstance, but it's reminiscent of what they're currently going through, that there's a couple arms right now that I'm not going to say they're expendable, but if they're able to be a throw-in in a package that's going to bring you a big arm back, that's what everybody should keep an eye on there. So I can't give you any like perfect examples there. I don't think anybody can. It's just a matter of what the Dodgers value, because if it's Bobby Miller, they value more than Stone. I don't want to make it 1-for-1, but if it's Bobby Miller, then they're going to look on that. Yes, he might have a little bit higher upside and Gavin Stone might be more polished for the moment, just like you said. So it's going to come down to how the front office sees it. That's just the way that I see it. But we've got a big time super chat, Right Field Pavilion, for the $50 super chat. Thank you so much. I'd like to take this time to personally thank, he's saying AJ Preller for trading River Ryan to the Dodgers for Matt Beatty. I was impressed with the kid. I am too. I think all of us were. It's a type of debut that you come up, you want to see big stuff. It's always exciting. And he looked the part. I loved his delivery. I liked it. It was nice. It was all compact. It felt really good. Like what do you got, Matt?
Well, first I want to thank the Right Field Pavilion as well. He's
Yes.
done a few of these $50 super chats, and we definitely appreciate you supporting our channel that way. I think River Ryan, like I said earlier, his composure is what stood out to me most tonight, and with it being his MLB debut against the Giants, a rivalry game, he pitched well. And I look forward to if he's going to stick in the rotation for another turn, or if he's going to be sent down to OKC and then get called back up at some point later in the year. I look forward to him getting another opportunity. And hey, maybe I don't think that they need it. Like the Dodgers have a lot of pitchers who are supposed to be coming back, but maybe he's a factor in the postseason as a potential relief pitcher. It wouldn't be the first time that a hard throwing starter gets thrown into the bullpen and utilized that way for October.
Yeah. And yeah, Kira. Yeah. River Ryan held his own. He certainly did. And I love that because he allowed, I think, just 4 hits. He had allowed 2 hard hits, 2 strikeouts, 73, pitches. Vesia saved his butt. And so it was really good for the team, the bullpen to rally around that. The offense came through. Teoscar 3, Giants 2. And I loved what I saw from River Ryan. I'm excited to go back and watch a lot of, the highlights from him, break that down for myself a little bit more. But it just falls in line, guys. It falls in line with the Dodgers player development, them turning around. They have a keen ability, and it draws back to where they hang their hat, developing pitching. And that's what they do best. And they're just going to tell, people like myself, Blake, or anyone that wants to question, can they develop prospects? They can. They can develop some damn good arms. And that's kind of all they need to do. If that's where they are and they're the best by a long shot, I think that's okay with them, because then you have a depth, a wealth of arms, and you can't use them all. But right now we're in a golden spot where we're getting to see multiple contributors. It might not be the highest of high end, but we're talking big league caliber guys who can stick in the major leagues. And that's something that other teams do not have. You don't have multiple arms coming up from other teams and being able to stick like the Dodgers. And it's giving them some run right now in a year that they absolutely need it. So these things all working at one time, something that we all need to take note of and appreciate. We got one more from Rod. Thank you so much, man, for the $2. Is it too soon to give up on Miguel Vargas? I think that's where you're at too, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, if there's a trade out there, if Miguel Vargas needs to be in maybe a Luis Robert, Garrett Crochet type package, okay, like I'm not going to say no, don't trade him. But I don't think it's at the point where he needs to go. They need to absolutely move on. I think there is still, I want to say salvage. That's too negative of a description, but there is still a chance for Vargas to become a adequate left fielder, or potentially to move him back to third base, maybe not second base, because I think that's where Mookie's going to settle either at some point this season or next year. But yeah, I don't think Vargas needs to definitely be parted with by any means.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's other routes that they can go. It'll be a shock. I don't know about a shock. I don't like saying that word. It'll be the Dodgers front office sees value in moving him, that they have somebody else they want to bring in. But again, it's just going to come down to who are their options versus lefties off the bench, and who do they see from there? Because I'm still going to in the camp that until we get past the trade deadline, the platoon that I like is Jason Hayward, Andy Pages. And if Kiké is going to keep slugging, then he's shown it in the past. And October presence matters for whatever people think. Like postseason success is what it is. Guys show up when the time strikes. Teoscar is one of those. You've been kind of poking fun at it and trolling it a little bit, but again, Kiké had some at bats. Chat was here with me. Blake and I were on here. I was telling Blake, I'm not going to say Kiké's back like that whole thing, but for the at-bat quality that he was giving, telegraphing pitches. So it's that if they're able to do that same thing from the left side, or find some left-handed platoon guys there at the deadline, maybe just one, and that's kind of all they need, in my opinion. And if they just go get a bat in center field, if they get Luis Robert, cool. If they focus on there, if they say they're fine living with Andy Pages in center field and attack a corner spot, great. But they're getting to a point where they're finding out who's going to separate themselves in terms of these platoon guys that are going to matter, that the Dodgers have been successful for. And I think that's why for the first half, I was so uncomfortable, because I just didn't see it. We didn't see it at all. Right on. We appreciate you guys. So we got another super chat here. I think I knew. Kiké's giving us a hint of October baseball. Damn right. Yes, he is. I think so. Yes, he is.
You don't have to sell me on that. I've been trying to tell you guys that since probably May.
Yours.
Not May. I guess I was gone for May. Since like June, that hey, Kiké's around for October. That's all that matters. I get it's frustrating during the season if he's not necessarily producing. And look, he
Yeah.
wants, like, if you guys are frustrated, he's clearly frustrated. You brought up a great point. Maybe it's the glasses that he's started wearing. I think recently, and like,
guy.
yeah, like that's going to be funny if that was the secret all along. He just needed the glasses to help him get going. But yeah, I mean, I've been on here. I've argued with Blake. See, and there goes Blake again, getting upset.
Everybody boo that man.
I believe clutch is a thing. I don't think you can't measure it. I think you just sort of, some guys have a knack for coming up big in the postseason. And I think Kiké is one of those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with you. He didn't do anything to like give that confidence as far as warranting everyday at bats, bordering along the lines of being one of the worst qualified hitters in Major League Baseball for 2 years in a row. So I can't sit up here and say, yeah, I believed in him the whole time, because production like that gets you DFA'd. And it's just a matter of that. But we're seeing him have these moments where you fall back into the thing and kind of check yourself and say, this guy is at different spots in his career. 2021, Kiké Hernandez in the playoffs with the Red Sox was a different animal. Those are highlights that I'm not going to say I go back and watch all the time, but if I want a feel good story and I'm just feeling nostalgic about some players in some time, like, postseasons past, I go back and I watch some of those highlights. And that's something that, if he sticks around, and I think it would rattle the clubhouse a little bit if they were to do that. So I think the Dodgers, especially what we know about them and keeping these clubhouse guys around, it would ruffle some feathers, and it would be a negative for them to do that. So I think they're going to shy away from it. I think unless there's anything pressing, we get more super chats. We can roll straight into some questions here. I don't know how many we'll get.
Let's see what people
fire
got.
In. Yeah, let's get some questions in. I know this is my last show, guys, until I head to Vegas. I wasn't even supposed to be on tonight. This is just me being excited. This is a shade of Gritty Scott coming back from last year, and get just probably deadline excitement coming back in here.
Definitely.
Honestly, it's what it is. Like the closer we get and they're playing like this, like we're getting to a spot where it's going to be news and rumors breaking all the time. And Morosi just kind of regurgitating the same stuff that he says all the time that doesn't change at all. So yeah, I'm showing up for Teoscar's performance for sure. Yeah, absolutely. He's got juice, man. Like he's got juice. I don't care that he was a big strikeout guy. It does not matter. Some guys just have a keen ability for driving runs in.
I mean, I think he is a little susceptible to strikeouts, but we saw tonight, like we've seen him also shorten up and put the ball in play.
For sure.
Like he's not the numbers might say otherwise, but my eye test is telling me he's not the full boom or bust that you get with some of these sluggers.
Yeah, I agree with you. Oh, guys, we're flying in here. Here we go. I got to pull them up.
Here, I could help if you needed to.
Yeah, go ahead. And this is
all right. Here, David has one.
Cool. Does River Ryan have any shot of staying in the big leagues, or was this a typical midseason call-up? You want to take this one? Thanks, David. What's up, dude?
So Dave Roberts did say after tonight's game that the plan for now is that River Ryan's staying with the team, but he also called it it's a day-to-day thing, and so I guess we'll have to see.
Yeah. Big time stuff, though. Again, they've got some options. And we heard more about, like, if River Ryan's a bullpen guy, just stuff-wise, like if he's going to go. Dodgers are getting more good news about pitchers all the time. Bruzdar, we heard a shade of Ryan Brazier today. Don't know how much, but it's just a matter of health. It's just, let's get, as many options as you can have. Let's see. Kenny, what's up, man? I know you're excited. How much do you think it'll take to extend / re-sign Teo now? I don't know, but do you think, where are you? What's your max on years wise? Financials, I'm not sure yet. I'd have to pull up some stuff, buy me some time, and I can try to find it.
Years, the max I want to do is 4. I think 3 is a sweet spot. I would rather go 3 years with a maybe higher AAV instead of 4. If it takes 4 years, maybe make it some sort of like vesting option or a mutual option or something, like try to work around it a little bit. In terms of money like that, I think is hard to predict. And hopefully I bought you enough time for you to click around and maybe get an idea.
Almost.
I mean, I
mean, like 4 years, 72 million, or some predictions I'm seeing around 4 years, 75.
Yeah.
You think it's enough?
I don't know if that's enough. I mean, what did he sign for right now? 18?
He is right now. I think Teoscar Hernandez is on somebody can pull it up, but he's got some deferred in there. Right now, Teoscar Hernandez is on a 1 year. Come on, load. He's on a 23.5.
Yeah.
AAV is lowered by deferral. So his AAV is 20.4.
Yeah. I mean, I think
money in there.
Maybe go 375. Be done with it. Give him his raise.
375.
375. I don't want to do 4 years. I don't want to do 4 years. Yeah.
Chat, you guys all cool with that? 1,000 in here. You guys all cool with re-signing Teoscar for 3 years, 75 million? I'll send my carrier pigeon to Andrew Friedman right now. I'll tell him right now. That's what everybody's cool with that.
Yeah.
I'll wait. Yep. Okay, cool. All right, Roy, what's up, man? No question. Thank you for coming on. Go Blue. Thank you, man. Absolutely. We appreciate you a ton. You're in here day in and day out, supporting us, support myself, Blake, Matt, Jeff, Anthony, everybody, Daniel. We appreciate you guys. We don't have jobs if you guys aren't tuning in, taking care of us, tuning in, making sure we feel loved and, allowing us to do this for our job. So we appreciate you a ton. Shout out to the 1,000. The Dodgers are on a mini heater. I think we're safe to say that. Unbeaten after the All-Star break. With the Diamondbacks losing today, the Padres jumped them and are in second place. The Dodgers are still first in the West. And as I pull this up here, they are 60-41, 8.5 game lead over the Padres. But it's something that I noted. I think I was talking to a friend of mine today, or it might have been, EB, I do work a regular job. It might have been with Blake last night, or it might have been him on, last week. The Dodgers are the best team in baseball record-wise again when they are starting or going against a left-handed starting pitcher. They're now 26-10. So it's an unbelievable switch from years past, and it kind of makes you take a double take. We know they're big right-handed heavy, but is it kind of settled in with you yet that they're so successful against lefty starters?
Is that the Teoscar effect? Are we going to have to try? Is it going to be 3 years, 85 million now because of that?
I mean, it's a lot. It's a lot. It's Ohtani being unbelievable versus
right.
lefties too. There's so many. Will Smith being for the first quarter of the year, he was the best hitter in baseball versus lefties. So I think a lot of that.
Yeah, I mean, that is still surprising because I've joked with you. It seems like every single year the Dodgers are looking for a right-handed bat because for some reason they can't hit lefties. But this year they've figured it out. I think Freeman obviously is a relatively neutral guy, so he deserves some credit there. Yeah, I mean that is surprising because it also feels like the bottom half of their lineup is. Andy Pages, they mentioned him on the broadcast tonight. I forgot what stat he is among the leaders against left-handed pitching in, or at least was for a period of time. So he's has been up for a while now. So I'm sure he's contributed to it. Yeah, I mean, that's impressive.
It's a cool thing. It's a different thing. Would you include Bobby Miller or Gavin Stone in a deal for Skubal or Crochet? Yes, TQT. I certainly would. I think, depending on who, Skubal, if that's on the table, you're not every day that arguably the best pitcher in baseball is available via trade. It's going to cost a lot. And I know Michael Carrillo, I don't know if he's still in here. I saw him in chat earlier on. We were chatting last night about, the possibility of Crochet and the innings limit. I know, Matt, you even brought it up about how restrictive that might be and how the Dodgers might see it. It varies from case to case. So we'll go one to one. For Skubal, would you be okay with adding Bobby Miller or Gavin Stone into a deal for him?
Yes, definitely.
What about Crochet?
I'd have to see what the entire trade is. I don't want to say no, but I am a little hesitant with Crochet just because I do worry about his innings limit a little bit. And I mean, look, maybe if it's a deal where you trade for Crochet and he can start once or twice during the regular season, and then you basically have to manage him until the playoffs, and then he can start again, fine, you can live with that. But if you get to the playoffs and he can't start games for you, that's a problem. Or if he needs to be an opener and he's limited to 1 or 2 innings per start,
big problem.
That's not going to work for me.
Yeah, big problem. It definitely raises a lot of red flags, and in terms of like when you acquire him, people are going to see that in the name value and they're going to see what he's done, but they're not going to see on beneath the surface about, how that the fact that he's doubled his career high already. And we are at the halfway, a little bit past the halfway point, but there's still a ways to go. And if the Dodgers are able to, if they acquire Crochet and limit him and work with him on like an extended, like, I don't know if they shut him down, they're able to do that in some way or limit him. Aaron, you're dozing off. I hear you, man. Settle on for just a little bit. We'll wrap it up soon. I promise. But if they're able to, yeah, go ahead.
The other thing with Crochet too, this is his first full season as a starting pitcher. So
Yes.
there's not a huge track record for him as a starter. And so that's like, I'd be a little hesitant to, just say, yes, include whoever in that trade just for the sake of doing so.
Yeah, and it's like it also says another thing about the Dodgers. Like I think they'd be like, this is a Ferrari. Like they'd have a hell of a time, figuring out how to utilize him. And I believe getting him in the organization would be, a good thing. And I wouldn't just be hung up on the return. Young players are young players and prospects are prospects until they're not, and then it comes back to bite you if it ever does. But I think the Dodgers would find like a high point for him, and we'd be pleased with the results in the now. But who knows what he's able to give them. I look at a package thing. I think Luis Robert is a name that in a player and a contract and a fit that they need to get. And I think that I don't know if the Dodgers are, and Bob Nightingale had a rumor mill that they're looking for a package of the both of them. I don't know if the Dodgers would, with those red flags about Crochet, would explore a deal where they wouldn't just look for both. And I know that sounds kind of ridiculous, but the Dodgers have shown, Friedman has done that in the past where he's gotten a couple guys, packaged them up, Rich Hill, Reddick, Trey Turner, Max Scherzer. And it just seems like another spot for where the Dodgers are with their outfield, where same thing going back to Teoscar contract. They don't have a lot. And getting Luis Robert in the organization is something that would remedy that spot for a few years, like for, I think, through 2027. So it's something that there's a fix out there that they could do it. So, yeah, Aaron, I saw that about Kopech. Like, if they're a part of that, like, that's you're talking about a big return going back to the White Sox. And, sorry, Blake, Nick Nastrini went back, and I know you're hung up about it, and you text me every day that Nick Nastrini is not a Dodger anymore. But the Dodgers have, dealt with them in the past. Preview of Knack's start for tomorrow. Anything, Matt?
I mean, not a whole lot. I apologize, Hwank here. I mean, hopefully, he'll give him another 5 to 6 innings of some quality work. Like we mentioned earlier tonight, give Knack credit for filling in the different roles that not the different role, but he was up initially and then sent down and back up, sent down. So credit to him for really handling that well. And, he's another of the young starters that Scott mentioned, that have come up this season and really given the Dodgers certainly some valuable innings. And so I think there's reason to believe that he'll be able to give him kind of more of the same tomorrow. And hey, you never necessarily know what's going on. Maybe I'm not necessarily rooting for it, but maybe it ends up being one of his final starts for the Dodgers if they're working on something and Knack is a coveted piece.
Might be. And I would hope so. Kira, to answer your question, just give you a little bit for tomorrow. The Dodgers used, let's see, how many arms tonight? They used 4 guys out of the bullpen. Vesia, Yarbrough, who has pitched an odd amount in recent, I think 3 out of the last 4 games, which has kind of surprised me a lot. I know I saw him on the mound again tonight, and I was like, okay, and you joked that 83 miles an hour right down the chute might not be the best idea. No, but Trinan and Huddy gives you a solid, 9th inning there, shuts the door. But the bullpen, you rack up 2, 4, 6, 8 strikeouts combined. And that's awesome from them. And I don't know, what do you think they're doing with Ryan Yarbrough? Is that like instead of being a multi-inning guy, it might be pure matchup based, but are you surprised by him pitching 3 out of the last 4 days?
Yes. I think, are they trying to just force him into figuring things out? And
I guess.
I mean, it's been strange. I mean, I guess they've needed some coverage here and there, and so he's the guy that they are relying on. Or like Blake says, they're using Yarbrough before he gets DFA'd. There's something coming down the line that they know, and so it's Brandon Morrow in 2017 World Series again. Just let him keep pitching until his arm falls off.
Yeah. So I would hope that Landon Knack is able to give them, I'm not going to say big time length, but Landon Knack has, I had it just pulled up here. Um, his last 3 starts. So we'll go back to June 28th and go from there. 4 2/3, 4 1/3, 4 1/3. And last one was on July 11th. So he's had a bit of time. So against the Giants lineup, that's not so imposing, but they do have some pop. They do got some boppers in there. Jorge Soler, and select matchup guys, Lamont Wade. It just all depends. I'd hope he gives them 6 innings like he did back on April 24th. That's a long ways back, but I would hope he gives them that and gives them some length there. 6 innings would be dynamite for me. I would love it, and that's kind of it. Just quality. I don't care if he's spectacular, but he's been good enough to keep them in a ball game. And with these young guys, that's kind of all you have to ask, and keep them right there. The offense is finding their stride. Hope Ramos and Wade don't come through. They might, who knows though, but I think Landon Knack's been keeping the Dodgers in a pretty good spot where he's in the same thing, that he's not walking a ton of guys. I think, his last 3 outings, he's walked 2, last 4 outings, he's walked 4. So, you're talking about a walk a game, essentially last 4 outings. So I think I can live with that. As long as strikeouts have been in a solid spot, last 3, 7, 6, and 5. So he's finding his feet. Falls right in line with what the Dodgers are doing. So I hope he gives them some length there. Let's see. Yep. Well, my bad. Ivan, where is Daniel? I hope he's taking a rest. And guys, I saw, what's he doing tonight?
Daniel is just, he's done with it now, but he was doing some writing for Lakers Nation because I came across the first, not leak, but I guess picture of the Kobe Bryant jersey giveaway at the stadium this year. So Daniel and I coordinated on Dodger Blue and Lakers Nation kind of publishing at the same time and making sure that our outlets were the first to get the design out to the public. So Daniel, if you saw, I'm assuming Ivan was probably tuned into our pregame show tonight and saw Daniel on. Daniel's busy doing some Lakers Nation stuff tonight, but he will, like I said earlier, he will be more involved with us kind of moving forward, at least up until Team USA starts playing again next weekend or whenever the Olympics sort of start up.
Man, I got to see that league. I didn't have a chance to check that out. But I'm going to do a couple questions. What about it?
It looks the same as last year's. Go to DodgerBlue.com. Scott, let me tell you about this great website, DodgerBlue.com. You can find all the details about the Kobe Bryant jersey giveaway. There's a picture. There's everything you need to know about it. Perfect.
He got the plug in there. So we're going to take a couple more. This is something that, we've been, Jeff was on. He's big on, Bo Bichette. Have you seen that Bo Bichette has told friends that he would welcome a trade, pull the trigger on him being cheap, and use Rojas to platoon with Muncy and give Bichette days off? The tough part about Bo Bichette is that, he's having an anomaly year, and it's something that I've talked about. I don't, back of the baseball card matters. But with Rojas, he's having a little bit of a forearm thing, correct? But he's downplayed that. So long-term implications there, I'm just not sure. Where are you at on Bo Bichette? I know you probably don't have his numbers of what he's done recently, but pulse-wise of the team, has shortstop kind of cooled off a bit for you? Or is it all about which deal could come ahead?
Yeah, I mean, I think the need hasn't necessarily cooled off, but I have definitely cooled off on the idea that the Dodgers are going to look to address it with any sort of aggressive trade. And look, I mean, I think one thing that you have to also worry about with Bichette is he's had his calf strain issue now 3 separate times this season.
And he's out for a couple weeks. So Hallelujah, thanks for the chat, but he's going to be out. Like, I'm pretty sure I saw the report that, he's going to miss some time. I think a couple weeks here. I think I just have it here. Moderate calf strain. And so he's going to miss multiple weeks.
And the other thing, so I know Hallelujah says to have Rojas platoon with Muncy. I would worry about a platoon of Rojas and Bichette potentially at shortstop, just because they both have shown a history of being able to get hurt. For Rojas, this one seems a little bit more of an outlier. He said he was just swinging, doing one-handed swings with a heavier bat in the cage. But a year ago, Rojas was dealing with his own soft tissue injuries. So that would sort of concern me with relying on either one of them for kind of your full-time starter. But I don't see a Bichette trade in the cards.
I think a name like that is exactly that for the moment. I think it's a name. I think a lot of people see that and they know what he's done in the past. And he's got one more year past this. But I don't think that's an area that the Dodgers really feel comfortable at. He's not as good of a hitter that you can just say your defense can be, whatever and do that. It's just shortstop's a premium position. Mookie Betts showed I'm not. Oh man, that's a bad comp because I give a lot of credit to Mookie for what he did. But Mookie Betts' defense, if you want to know someone who had a tough time transitioning, when you see a tough, like a rough shortstop, like a bad defender, it's not Mookie, but we're talking about someone where if your defense is that bad in terms of Bo Bichette, your bat better be there, and he's not doing either this year. Plus dealing with calf injuries. Yeah, Mike, I see you with Paul DeJong. He had a homer, I believe, today. Paul DeJong's got some pop there. If there's a big package, how funny would it be? How, a team like the White Sox, a blockbuster of like 4 players is quite a lot. That's a lot of room you've got to make.
Sure.
But it just would be a heck of a turnaround for a lot of these guys going from a team like the White Sox and saying, hey, the Dodgers need players like that. We need, Paul DeJong at short. We need Luis Robert in center. We need a front end guy. And hey, guess what? Evan Phillips is going through some stuff. Michael Kopech. We need a back end arm. That would be something. I don't know if that a 4-player swap is a little too much. I don't think that's happening. I think you could maybe say, if 3 gets to the spot, they could pull that off there. I don't know if Kopech's kind of in it. I think they have enough. But Paul DeJong's somebody that's still interesting. It still would remedy it. And with the uncertainty with Mookie at shortstop and Miguel Rojas at shortstop and the health there and the bench, I think there's enough that if Paul DeJong is someone they're talking about, I think the Dodgers would welcome that.
I think so too. For me, I'm not overly high on him.
But who is out there? That's the thing,
I mean, yeah, that's why, like, I would almost
not go there.
If that
not
is the
even
case,
go there.
yeah, if that's the case, like you don't, as much as the Dodgers, like, quote unquote, need a shortstop, you haven't, like, at this point, you've made it through the season. Like, start giving Rojas more off days if you have to down the stretch. And then I think come the playoffs, he could start pretty regularly because there are built-in travel days and it's the playoffs. And so at that point, everybody's playing every day. Yeah, I mean, not a lot of options. And so I think you just kind of stick with what you have internally. Like we said earlier, if Kiké starts to continue to trend upward, then maybe you give him more starts at shortstop. I know defensively he still had his struggles, which has been uncharacteristic. Last year was the same thing, which was kind of a first for him. Yeah, I don't know. I think shortstop becomes something you just kick the can down the road and worry about it. Like who just said it? Somebody said for next year. Yeah, Pinsanity says shortstop will need to be addressed next year. You just worry about it later.
Now, I want to put this up here. I know you brought up the Cubs. I haven't seen anybody bring it up. I don't know about Steele. It's possible. I have to pull up how old Justin Steele is. I'll pull this up here. But from what the Dodgers need, and I know people have their thoughts about, I'm going to say it, guys, don't, sit down. Shout out to the 1100. All don't freak out at one time. Is Cody Bellinger a possibility? A left-handed bat, a center fielder with multiple years of team control because I don't see Cody Bellinger unless he overly outperforms. That's a guy you could have for the next, 2.5 years, essentially. Is that somebody you'd even with the, the reunion party the Dodgers love to have, is that something you'd even consider?
I would. I mean, I threw this scenario out to Daniel before the game tonight. I said, "Hey, are you on bringing Beltober back?"
See, people right now, there's so many. It's going to be 50-50. People are going to hate it. People are going to love it.
Look, it's not my money. His defense is worth it alone. Like I've watched enough of the outfield, almost running into each other. Like I'm over that. So on the defense alone, but I know also Bellinger, he's hurt, right? Like I think was it his hand or his wrist? Didn't he just get hit by a pitch or something recently?
Yes.
So that's complicating matters. But yes, I would be open to that.
Yeah, no, it's definitely, Blake trading for Eovaldi's the name in the ones that Blake's putting up here. I'll get back to the Justin Steele thing in a second. GI, my bad, man. But Eovaldi's somebody that I think the Dodgers absolutely should be in on if that's available. Kenley, I don't think they need to go that route. For the memes, yes. For the reunion, sure. Jumpman 74, that'd be great. I don't know if they're going to explore that. But Eovaldi is somebody that was on my list of names, like from the 4 starting pitchers or 5 that I think the Dodgers should explore. It goes like, Skubal, Crochet, Jack Flaherty, Eovaldi, and then Eric Fetty, and then Kikuchi right behind him. So I've got a number of guys that if the Dodgers acquire, I'd be super comfortable with it. Kirby Yates, I'll check him out. Yeah, he's been the games that I've randomly popped on like in the afternoon just for the fun. Like I like what I've seen from Kirby Yates. He's got swing and miss stuff, so he's had a low resurgence. So I'd be fine with that. But I'm starters wise, I think Eovaldi is somebody I would do it. But back to what GI said, because I don't want to be mean and dive away from his question. Justin Steele, he's had some very high quality stuff, and I think that among lefties, I'd have to pull it up. I don't want to misquote the stat, but he's been one of the best lefties for several years. I don't know his contract. Somebody please look it up. I can try to pull it up, but I know he just came back from an injury. 3.07 ERA this year, 91 innings, made 15 starts, 87 punch, 102 whip. Is that somebody do you think the Dodgers might explore something like that? Do you think that's like an arm has anything? He's 29 years old, so it's a big high quality arm.
Yeah, I mean, I think honestly, what's going to end up happening is the Dodgers are going to trade for a starter that nobody's talking about. And I think that happens a lot with Andrew Friedman. It's the Dodgers are linked to so and so, and this great pitcher is available, and this is the best pitcher available at the deadline. This is who everybody's after, and the Dodgers I know that they got Max Scherzer. I guess you could say they tried for Eduardo Rodriguez and that whole mess. But I think it will end up being like a pivot and something sort of out of nowhere. I'm not saying it means that they're going to get a bad pitcher per se. I think it's just going to be a name. Justin Steele, I think, would fit the bill. Maybe Jack Flaherty a little bit, just because he's been speculated as a trade target, but not specifically been linked to the Dodgers. But I could see something like that happening more so than a Crochet or Skubal trade.
Yeah. Bob, I don't know who you're talking about a dumpster dive. Like Justin Steele's very, not a dumpster dive. If you're talking about Zach Eflin, I don't know if he's a dumpster dive either. That's if the Dodgers go, I know we had a question last night about, Blake and I, about the teams that if they're not sellers yet, who do I want to be sellers? If the White Sox stuff doesn't happen and the Luis Robert, Garrett Crochet, they completely left turn that. Skubal price way too high. I hope the Rays are a team, that kind of hit that button, and Randy Arozarena fits the bill for them. Again, big postseason stuff, big energy. He's been one of the like a 150 plus WRC plus since June. So he's been terrific bat. He's figured it out. He is who he is again. Postseason Randy is something that we all got to watch firsthand. And I know I see people lumping in Zach Eflin. And, that's somebody that would be a fun target, not a big strikeout guy, but definitely somebody who gets outs. And if it's not as high quality of an arm, it's somebody that's interesting. So guys, there's a lot of stuff, a lot of names out there. And to what Matt said, it could be somebody that there's something that the front office likes that they want to tap into, get in the org. And that might be where the trade comes from out of nowhere. Woo! Thanks everybody for being here. Shout out to you, 1100. We hit the hour mark. I think we're going to wrap it up here pretty soon, unless we see anything crazy. But again, Dodgers are on a mini heater. We're going to call what it is, undefeated after this, after the All-Star break. It feels like they had 2 sweeps in one. It feels like they had a terrific All-Star break. Teoscar, Tani with the nuke in the All-Star game. I wish that the Giants just didn't feel like sending out a Logan Webb to blow the game and go from there. So it was good to beat them tonight. We got a super chat here. Hold on, Blake. Thanks, man.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
Thank you. Rod, thanks again. $10 super chat. Teams wear out their pens because their starters are conditioned to think they cannot pitch more than 5 innings. Tonight was the first time in Ryan's pro career that he's gotten an out in the 6th. But where do you stand on that? Because that's actually something I've heard from, I don't know, I would say, fans who tend to be more old school baseball. I don't know how much of the sentiment I hear that just go out there and air it out, for as long as you can. I don't care how deep you go, but I do know pitchers are very high. The output has got to be there. They just want you to go out and put your best stuff. I can't say much to that, Rod. Do you think, Matt, are you seeing a lot of that, just air it out for 5 innings and not be so concerned? Or is it just how the game kind of plays out as far as length?
I think that there's certainly an emphasis that's been put on velocity and
Hmm.
throwing it, I think, as hard as you can, as many times as possible. And even if it does sacrifice, maybe an inning or two on the back end, I think I haven't seen enough. I don't follow enough other organizations closely and their prospects and all that. I do know that my impression of the Dodgers is that they are relatively conservative with how much they push and stretch out their young pitchers. I think that's fair to say. I think we see them on shorter leashes more times than not. For River Ryan specifically, like we mentioned at the top of the show, he's a fast riser since he's been drafted, since he joined the. I mean, remember, like he was traded to the Dodgers not as a pitcher, and so that is a recent development. And considering that, and also he had some right shoulder trouble, I think it was soreness or some inflammation or something this year, so he didn't pitch in spring
Hmm.
training. His start to the season was delayed, so his buildup has been a little bit different than I think it being more of the Dodgers saying, "Hey, we only want our pitchers to go 4 or 5 innings" type thing. And so for River Ryan specifically, I think it's a different situation. For the Dodgers in general, for the sport, the industry, I think there is a little bit of a just throw it as hard as you can, and we'll worry about however many innings you can give us. We'll cover that one way or another.
Yeah, and I think Jai makes a great point. You see this a lot. Like if you pay attention, like if the broadcast or if you look into it, it matters a ton. And there's some pitchers who get better as the game goes on, but there's a large majority of pitchers that the third time around the lineup, the more a lineup like a batting order gets to see the pitcher, they get into the tendencies, they can get some jumps, and that's where you see true damage happen. So that's where you hear the saying, "Come better too early than too late." A lot of that trend has happened throughout Major League Baseball. So there's anomaly pitchers who are that are able to go and give you complete games. That's why it doesn't happen so much. So that's why, when Sandy Alcantara we had his Cy Young year, that was like, how are you doing this, man? So definitely anomaly stuff. You don't see it very much. So it's a joy when you get to see it, but it's a trend that's been highlighted, I think, a lot. It's a dying breed. Exactly. GI.
Yeah.
But we
And
appreciate everybody. Yeah, go ahead.
I think too, I mean, that to me sort of comes down to like, is it the chicken or the egg, right? Like, are pitchers struggling with third time through the order because they haven't been fully developed? They don't necessarily have an entire arsenal. Like, I don't think it's the same answer for everybody. Like, yeah, if you have a 2-pitch starter, yes, they're probably going to get hurt the more times the lineup sees them if they just don't have effective weapons, right, to navigate a lineup. But is enough of an emphasis being placed on developing those pitches while they're in the minor leagues, or is it just, oh, he's got a 100-mile-per-hour fastball, okay, that's enough to carry him through, we'll figure everything else out after? Like, that's where I think is the conversation becomes like, what's the true cause for some of that? And they're ultimately like, look, not every pitcher is a great pitcher, I get that. There is a reason that the aces are aces for a reason, and there's very few of them. Like, there's not 100 of them or 200 of them, whatever, in the sport. But that to me is a little bit of, like we talked about, the Dodgers platoon their position players right off the bat. It seems like, are you really giving them enough of an opportunity to prove that they can't hit same side pitching before you make that determination?
Yeah, that's a great point to wrap it up on. Appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. I just want to give a shout out to the Dodgers real quick for honoring Willie Mays before the game tonight. Really cool stuff. Great win. Dodgers on a little mini heater. First place still. Padres jumped the Arizona Diamondbacks. Terrific night for River Ryan. Teoscar Hernandez 3, the Giants 2. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We got a lot coming this week. We're rolling in. Yeah, Kenny, class act. Great stuff for them. The Dodgers are finding some hope, in a lot of what was going on and some of the dysfunction heading into the deadline or into the All-Star break, and a lot of people questioning what was going to go on with the team and what currently was going on with them. Are they kind of running into a wall where we're going to see them fall apart a bit? But again, talent rises up, big players play. Let's get Teoscar Hernandez on a contract extension. I'm going to keep harping on it until it happens. So we appreciate everybody tuning in. Big show tonight. Thanks for all the super chats. Thanks everybody for supporting us. I will be going on vacation. I'll see you guys hopefully this weekend when I get back. Hopefully the Dodgers wait to get some big news, but we'll go from there. Make sure everybody, like, subscribe, to Dodger Blue. We appreciate it a ton. This is Matt Moreno. Awesome, man. executive editor, Dodger Blue. He is a Swiss Army knife, jack of all trades. Glad he's back on here. It was great to have you. Thanks for jumping on, Matt. I'm Scott Geirman, senior staff writer, Dodger Blue. Any walk-off notes, Matt?
No, just want to echo everything you said. We appreciate everybody joining us tonight. We had a huge pregame show, huge postgame show. Just a lot of exciting times right now with the Dodgers.
All right, Aaron, I'm a bet on black. Okay, I got you just for you. Everybody take care. Thank you so much. Have a great rest of your night. Go Dodgers, baby.